Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me. So, let's get right into talking about how you can make a success transitioning from military to civilian life. So, first of all, let's make sure that you're in the right place. This webinar is for you. If you're leaving active duty in the next 120 days or more, or you're already in civilian life, okay? And you're an E4 or above. So, in addition to having hard skills, you also have some proven leadership ability. You're looking for security in civilian life, okay? And you have a can-do spirit. So although you may not be looking to start a business, you have kind of that entrepreneurial urge, that sense that you really want to do something, you want to accomplish something, okay? So it's for people like you who want an honest, ethical, and easier path than going it alone, like so many other veterans have to do, and they don't have a lifeline or a roadmap to success in civilian life, okay? So, if you want to hit the ground running and power past your civilian peers using your military experience and your leadership mindset to get a secure, high paying job, so then this is for you. You're in the right place. Okay, in the next 60 minutes, okay, I'm going to show you how to turn your training and leadership ability into a six-figure career right when you get out of the military with confidence and certainty. Okay, and why you don't need more school, you don't need more certifications, but you have the experience right now that puts you in demand for the best jobs that are out there. Why you have the connections to get your dream career right now, and you probably don't even realize it. Look, the military is the biggest fraternity in the world, okay? Keep that in mind. And while you can have, or how you can have your dream career while you reconnect with your spouse and family in a way that you just couldn't when you were in the military because of deployments and workups and TDYs and TADs and all the stuff that we have to do. Okay? And then finally, how you can do all of this without the struggle that so many veterans go through when they don't have this information. Right. So my promise to you is I'm going to give you a step-by-step strategy to turn your military experience into a secure, high-paying job. Okay? Sound good? All right, let's move on. So, like anything that's even remotely military related, right? There's rules of engagement. So, first of all, planning your future takes focus. Give yourself the little gift here. Give yourself an hour of undivided attention to work with me in learning what you're going to need to do to make a successful transition. So turn off your cell phone, or at least put it on, buzz, so that you only have to answer an emergency. Set all the social media aside and all that other stuff. Just give me a focused hour here so we can really work on what you need to do. Okay. Number two, I am not going to be giving you some kind of magic fix that, with a wave of a wand is going to give you this, amazing civilian life. So if that's what you're looking for, you know what? Don't bother watching this. It'll be a complete waste of your time. Likewise, if you're just looking for a couple of tweaks to your resume, or, some little thing, oh, I just need that one little thing, that's not what I'm doing here either. Okay, this is not for you if you're just looking to find something that makes you feel like you're making ground towards successfully transitioning, but that's really all it's about. This is for people who are looking to figure out what really is it going to take. What's the hard work that I'm going to have to do in order to be successful? That's what we're going to be talking about here, okay? And finally, throughout the presentation, I'm going to be talking about some of the success I've had, some of the success my clients have had, okay? But you need to know no one's results are typical. So my clients were committed, they worked hard, and they earned the results that they got, okay? Now, look, your success or lack thereof in moving into civilian life, it's going to be up to you, okay? So please keep that in mind as we move forward. All right, So does this sound like you? Are you concerned you don't have a job lined up starting when you leave the military? Or you do, but it's not the job you want? Are you discouraged because you're just not getting any traction in your job search? Are you frustrated that you can't get a straight answer as to why you've been turned down for a job? Right? One tells you you don't have enough experience, and then it seems like for the same kind of job, they're telling you you have too much. Okay? Do you want to take action, but you're not sure what to do? Were you excited about moving into civilian life, but now you're scared because it turns out transitioning into a civilian job, it's going to take more than just having skills. Okay? And do you find yourself waking up in the middle of the night wondering how you're going to support your family? Okay? Are you worried that you won't be able to find a job to replace, let alone exceed your military income? All right. So if you're worried about any of those things, here's the situation. Okay? The real problem: transition assistance programs don't help. They go by all kinds of different names depending on which branch of the service you're in, but they all pretty much work the same. And that is, you get a few hours of training a week or over a series of weeks, right? But those few hours are not going to prepare you to transition to civilian life. They just don't, especially because most of what they're teaching you is 20 years old. So it worked 2 decades ago, but it doesn't work today. Okay? So what they're doing in actuality is they're training you in the least efficient way to find a job. They're not teaching you a system that you can use, that you can just work kind of A, B, C, D, and if you do these steps, they will prove and inevitably move you into the job that you want. So that's a problem with the transition assistance program. So if you've taken, again, whatever it's called in your branch of the service, and you came out going like, gee, I don't feel very confident here, no surprise. Okay? And there's lots of free resources out there as well. But you know what? They're worth what you pay for them. So I was talking to a veteran one time, and she was telling me she went to a free veterans transition seminar. She was in a room with like 50 or 7,500 vets, whatever it was. And the guy gets up, and the first thing he says after introducing himself is, if you think you're going to get a job for more than $40,000 a year, you're kidding yourself. Now, the first thing the guy is saying is, hey, man, scale back your expectations. Well, look, yeah, minimum wage job. Hey, no problem, right? Hey, look, the veteran I was talking to, she was a Navy captain. An Army captain. She did 2 tours of duty in Iraq. And she's saying to me like, wait, I'm only worth $40,000 a year in the civilian job market? That's crazy. And she's right. That's crazy. Right? So you got to be very, very careful. Look, the people who are doing these things, they're very well-meaning. They want to help you out, okay? But like so many things on the internet, unless they're really, really thoroughly vetted, unless you're sure they absolutely apply to you specifically, they're just not worth your time and effort to work through them, okay? So security is knowing the system for getting the job that you want. Look, in the civilian world, people change jobs every 3.7 to 4.6 years. Okay, that's the exact statistic, right? So look, you may get lucky finding a job once, okay, but you're probably going to have several before you're done working. Okay, so you're going to count on luck every single time? That's not security, right? If you're going to play that game, hey, go to Vegas, spin the wheel, right? Draw the cards. But that's not security. That's gambling. Okay? So the real problem is you haven't made the shifts that'll secure your financial success in the civilian world. Okay? So there's a way things work in the military, but it's very, very different than how things work in the civilian world. And of course, civilians grew up in it, so they just know it naturally, right? But coming out, you don't. So all those feelings of insecurity or the waking ups in the middle of the night, that's where it's all coming from, okay? It's because you just haven't made these shifts. All right. So most veterans never learn this system. And that's why you hear so many stories about veterans who aren't making it in civilian life, because they just kind of bump along trying to figure it out, but they never get clued in, and they're always behind the power curve compared to other civilians. Okay? But if you can learn these four things that I'm going to be talking about, you can have the civilian job you're dreaming about without fear of a pay gap. And there's no reason why you can't move directly from the military into a civilian job, right? So once you internalize the four shifts that I'm going to talk about, you'll have a crystal clear plan for your life that'll be more secure than anything you had in the military. Okay? And you'll be freed from worrying because you'll more than replace what you earned in the military. Okay? And because you won't be having to leave on deployments and all those other things, you'll be more deeply connected to your loved ones than you ever were before. And finally, you'll do all of this while tapping into the confidence and enthusiasm that comes from doing meaningful work you love, because you'll know how to systematically find the job you want. You won't have to settle for just any kind of job and end up hating what you're doing. Or if you do to end up taking a job and you realize, I really don't like this job. All right, so you'll go get another one because you'll know what you have to do. You won't have relied on luck. All right, so the one thing you need to know is it is possible to move straight from the military into a secure career that makes you happy. You just need to know the standard operating procedure for civilian success, okay? So a simple four shift system. Oh boy. There's a simple four shift system that you need to use to get that job that you want right out of the military, okay? And you're going to learn exactly how to use it today. All right, but before we do that, I just want to take a minute or two to introduce myself more fully. I think I mentioned my name at the beginning. I'm Kevin Bemmel, right? And before I joined the Navy, I was in the civilian world for about 2.5 decades. And for 20 years of that, I was an entrepreneur and I ran my own company and I consulted and managed on over $1 billion, that's billion with a B, dollars worth of real estate and business transactions. I had a great career. I traveled a lot. I traveled to the Northwest and to the Southeast and all over California and even up to Alaska a couple of times, which was very, very cool. And I had one client in particular that always used to have me travel first class, 3-4 star hotels. It was really a lot of fun. And then about 10 years ago, I decided to join the military and I became a chaplain in the Navy. And during the last 10 years, 6 on active duty and 4 in the reserves. So I've helped service members work on their careers so they can get promoted or advanced. And I've helped them work through all kinds of very challenging issues: infidelity, criminality, abuse. Unfortunately, all the same kind of stuff that people in civilian life get involved with, but in the military, it's much worse because these things happen to you or you get involved with them, and look, generally speaking, you're out if you can't get things under control very, very quickly. So my specialty is helping people figure out what they want from life and then act on those plans. Okay? So when I mentioned a minute ago, I've been in the military for 10 years. I did 6 years of active duty. And when my wife and I decided that we wanted to go off active duty, it was really obvious to me what I had to do to get back into civilian life. We decided we were going to move back to Los Angeles where we lived before I joined the Navy. And I just kind of, you know, did the steps. And even before the movers came to pack us up, I had a great gig all lined up. But then I started looking around at what was going on with other veterans, and I saw how many of them just weren't getting the kind of jobs I thought that they deserved. Look, we get great skills in the military. Some of us come to the military with great skills that we then build on. We develop leadership ability. So it's all these things that civilian employers want, and yet veterans weren't getting the jobs they wanted. So I took a real hard look at what I had done in order to find my gig. And I realized, it was obvious to me because I'd spent, 25 years in civilian life before I was in the military. So I was just naturally doing what I had done before. But for people who are in the military and don't have experience in civilian life, so they didn't, if you will, grow up in that atmosphere, they just didn't know what had to be done. And so I took what I had done and I boiled it down to the essential steps. And then I took 3 years looking at best practices that would be even more efficient than what I had initially done. Okay? I spent over $100,000 of my own money as well. And I put together a very, very efficient, effective program to show veterans what they need to do in order to basically catch up with their civilian peers. Okay? So that's really where this whole system came from, just to give you a little bit of background. Now, to give you an idea of how it works and how effective it is. So a few months ago, I decided I wanted to take the next step in my academic career. So about 6-7 months ago now, I completed a second master's degree, and it's always been one of my goals to get a PhD. So as I looked at entering a doctoral program, I thought, it'd be a good idea for me to get some teaching experience at the college or university level. Okay, I mean, I've taught in a lot of different venues in and out of the Navy, but and I even taught at a sort of quasi-university level, but I hadn't taught, actually at the college university level. So I decided, well, I'm going to go see what the market is like and find a position to do that. And using the exact system that I'm going to start showing you in just a moment, within 3 weeks, I had 2 offers to teach part-time for a college and a university. Okay, that's how effective it is. It's really the only question it comes down to, do I want to take one of these 2, or do I want to keep, looking for another opportunity, or if I do want to take one, which one do I take? That's really what it comes down to. And I have some time because the term doesn't start till the fall, but that's really the issue there. The crux of the matter is I did exactly what I'm going to show you. Okay, and that's how quickly it can bear fruit. Okay, all right, so let's move on. So there are 4 shifts that you have to make in your life in order to find a secure, high-paying job while you enjoy greater self-confidence and a closer family life. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through all 4 of them on this session. All right, here we go. Number 1, you have the competitive advantage. Okay, you may have heard this before, but I'm telling you, as a veteran, you have the competitive advantage, and you've got to internalize that. So Americans admire your ethics. The military is the most admired institution in the United States. I'm going to show you the statistics in just a minute. The military is the most highly admired occupation for adding a lot to society. Okay? And members of the military are on par with doctors, grade school teachers, and even nurses as having high or very high ethics. You'll see in a moment, even higher than clergy. So I don't know where that puts military chaplains, but somewhere in there. Okay, so look at the chart with the green bars. The top one there is the military. Okay, and this is as of June of 2016. So this is recent information, but it's been consistently like this. The military has been at the top of the pack in terms of our fellow Americans saying we add a great deal or quite a lot to American society. The next closest is small business, which is pretty close. And then from there, you've got police, and then everything else, really, it's virtually half the number of Americans that say the military adds a lot to society, okay? Now look over here. In terms of prestige, military officers have prestige just below doctors and slightly above firefighters, scientists, even nurses and engineers. So look at how high in esteem our fellow Americans hold us. Okay. Now, in terms of our ethics, the most recent for all members of the military is all the way back in 2001. But look, very high or high ethics. 81% of Americans think military members have high or very high ethics. Okay. Now, more recently, back in 2013, they said 69% said military officers have high or very high ethics. Okay, and if you look at the chart showing the different fields, so military officers are basically on par with pharmacists, grade school teachers, doctors. Okay, and we're above police officers. Okay, only nurses beat us out, which makes my wife very happy because she's an RN. Okay, so this is no kidding. This is how Americans feel about us. So that's great news. Okay, here's another piece of good news. 65% of employers would hire a veteran over another equally qualified candidate, right? So you've got a 2/3 edge basically, all right? But how many employers know? To take a Navy example, right? You could translate this into an Army, Air Force, Marine Corps example, right? But from a Navy standpoint, how many employers know that a 19-year-old E3 decides whether a $65 million jet leaves the deck of an aircraft carrier or not, right? There's a job called plane captain. It's the first thing that an airman in the Navy does when he or she joins a squadron. They have to qualify as a plane captain. And they decide, right? 65 million bucks, not to mention the life of the pilot and or co-pilot are in, that 19-year-old's hand. Right? Where is there anything similar to that in civilian life? Civilians just it's hard for them to imagine, right? And so it's no surprise that a top reason companies don't hire veterans, mismatched or misunderstood skills. They just don't understand what we're all about. Now, think about this. There's 21.8 million veterans in the United States against a total population of about 320 million. Not even 10%. So most Americans they've never met anyone in the military. The language we speak is like a foreign language to them. So we can stand back and say, oh, but my fellow Americans, if you admire me so highly, you got to learn to talk my language. But that's not going to happen. We're the minority group among Americans. So we've got to learn to enter their world, to explain to them what we do. Look, think about it. If you went to a foreign country, you're not going to say to someone in, England or France or Japan or wherever, hey, learn my language and what I'm all about so that, you'll want to hire me, right? You'd have to learn that country's language and culture. So it's the same way returning to civilian life, okay? Now, okay, so let's move on. So you have the edge, but you still have to get your foot in the door and use it to your advantage, okay? So you've got to show employers your unique value, okay? Now, this is one of the places where veterans struggle. It's like, wait a minute, why should I have to promote myself? It should be obvious that I know what I'm doing. In the military, it probably is, right? You can read somebody's ribbons, you pretty much know what their career was all about, right? That's not true in civilian life. So you're going to have to promote yourself. Now, you want to do it in a humble way. You don't want to be boasting, but you want to be self-confident, okay? Because the reality is, people expect military members to exude confidence. That's one thing they're sure about us, is we're very self-disciplined and confident, right? So if we don't come off that way, then they think, well, there must be something wrong here, right? That's a red flag, and they're, going off in their head, okay? So you've got to be able to show employers your unique value, and you have to have a mindset of success. So you can't go in with a bad attitude. You've got to go in confident, upbeat, positive every single time. Okay, every single time. And you're going to have to drill yourself in the steps for marketing yourself. Okay, just like you had to be drilled to learn to be a soldier, sailor, airman, marine, you're going to have to drill yourself to be a successful civilian. It's not going to happen by accident. All right? All right. So, again, you have the competitive edge. That's shift number one. Shift number two, wealth comes from value delivered. Okay? I'm going to say it again. Wealth comes from value delivered. Now, this is very, very different than how things work in the military. So, in the military, there were two things about our work. One was it was always about getting the job done. Okay? And two, there were never enough people to get the job, to get everything done, it seemed like, right? So you made up for it by working for long hours, especially when you were deployed. But the reality was it didn't matter how many hours you worked, you got paid the same. Okay? Now you might give yourself a leg up for promotion or advancement by working longer hours, but the bottom line is almost everybody in the military works long hours. That just goes with the territory. So the military teaches you you get paid the same no matter how many hours you work. That's just the reality there. And I'm sure you knew some guys in the military who took advantage of that, right? And it was frustrating because like you're working your tail off and you're getting paid, X, and a guy who wasn't working his tail off is still getting paid X. Seemed unfair, right? You delivered excellence because lives could be at stake, right? That was the bottom line, right? Your buddies, your colleagues, somebody you knew, right? That's that plane captain deciding whether the jet's going to leave the aircraft carrier deck, okay? The pilot's life was at stake. They had that person's well-being in their hand. So they had to deliver excellence every single time. Excuse me. All right. In civilian life, wealth comes from the value that you deliver. All right. So the better you can demonstrate how your skills, experience, and leadership will benefit an organization, the more you'll get paid. That's how it works in civilian life, because it's a production profit, if you will, equation. So the more value you can bring to the company, the more you can help them better serve their customers and clients, the more effectively you do that, the more you're going to be worth to that company and the higher you're going to get paid. So you can have job security without having to work 60 or 80 hours a week. Because if you have so much value, if you're delivering so much value to that company, you're going to be secure there because they're going to want you there taking care of their business. All right. So let me explain to you how this works in a practical example. So I had a trainee who was a jet aircraft maintainer. And, he was tired of turning wrenches. So he decided he wanted to get out of it. He's in civilian life. And he decided he was going to become a real estate appraiser. So I said, well, why real estate appraisal? And he's like, well, I don't know. Isn't that how it works when you want to get into that business? And I said, well, look, you're a jet aircraft maintainer. I recommend you take a look at becoming an aircraft appraiser because you got the background that qualifies you to do that, at least to start out. So he checked it out, talked to a couple of guys he happened to know, and realized it was much better for him to be a jet aircraft maintainer because as a real estate appraiser, he might have started out making maybe $50,000-$60,000 a year. But as an aircraft appraiser, he was going to start out in the low six figures because he had the background they wanted. He could take all the time he had spent maintaining aircraft, which meant, among other things, keeping detailed logs, doing inspections, which is a big part of determining what the real condition of an airplane is. And it's where so many aircraft appraisers mess up because they don't have good enough experience doing that. Well, he'd been doing that for years. He was just tired of turning wrenches, but he still loved airplanes. So he was able to get a job at a much higher starting salary because he could deliver so much value, right? Do you see the power then of that equation? Okay. Wealth comes from value delivered. So by effectively presenting his unique value, he got solid job security, and by the way, tremendous upside in his income, right? Because just starting out, he was at low six figures, and he can advance from there as he gets more and more experience in the actual appraisal business. Okay, so that's step number, or that's shift number 2. All right, shift number 3. You have to market yourself as the expert. Okay? You got to market yourself as the expert. Now, employers won't hire you unless they see the immediate benefit to their organization. That's what they're looking to do. Look, employers aren't charities. By the way, even nonprofits are not charities when it comes to their employees in most cases. They need people who can help them pursue their mission. That's what they're looking for. How are you going to help us meet what we're trying to accomplish? Okay? So they want to know, what is the benefit to them? That's the key to marketing. So the only path to a secure, high-paying job is you must be clear about the problems you solve and communicate this effectively. Okay? So if you know the system, social media will allow you to do this very quickly. But if not, getting yourself in the position where you're not only seen as the expert, but you've conveyed that message often enough and to the right people that you get the job you want, it can take a year or more. Okay? So that's realistically what you're up against. All right. So look, here's the old way of job hunting. First of all, you prepared a resume and you probably sweated over every single word, right? Then this is what they tell you in TAP, right? Or in transition assistance programs. Post it on every job board. Submit it through every company's website, right? And then you pray that you'll get called for an interview. Now, look, I'm a chaplain. I got nothing against prayer. But, right, you really want to be sweating this out? Okay, and then you get called for an interview, right? And you worry about what you'll be asked, and then after the interview, you stress about, did I give the right answers? Right? It's all guesswork and luck practically all along the way. And here's the reality. Only 4 to 7% of people who use this method actually find a job through this method. And you have no control over the process. Right? So this is the old way. Now here's the new way. You be the expert. You understand what problems you solve, what value you bring to the table for potential employers. Then you go out and you find the companies that you can help. You identify who you want to work for, okay? And then you meet with the decision makers and you have jobs to discuss you have meetings to discuss working together. That's the key to security and prosperity in the civilian job market. And look, you're in control all along the way. Now, of course, you don't have the final control. You don't get to say, well, I want this job, so you're going to give it to me. Obviously, you're not going to say that. But do you see how much more control you have in this system? And in fact, this method has an 86% success rate. That's the difference, okay? So you have to start out by being the expert, okay? So you need to be the expert. Right. You can start at the bottom, okay? And you can be a junior person starting at a low salary and work your way up, okay? You can do that, all right? And if that's how you want to do it, have at it, okay? Or you can take all the abilities you already have. Take your skills and experience and your leadership ability that you developed in the military, and you can use it in a particular industry or area of focus that you're interested in. and see how you can develop it to solve the problems in that industry. Okay? The problems that specific companies have, the challenges that they're faced with, which is how they usually refer to them in civilian life. Okay? You can do that, and you can leapfrog far ahead of other people coming out of the military, other people already in civilian life. Right? Isn't that the better way to do it? All right. So you need to prepare yourself to deliver value. All right. Let's talk about how you do that. All right. First of all, you establish yourself as an expert now. Okay. So there is a proven path that you can take that you will use to develop your military skills and leadership and take tactical market knowledge that you researched out. You marry the two, and that tells you where you are most valuable in civilian life. Okay? Do you see how putting those two together is going to maximize your opportunity? Instead of just throwing out resumes all over the place and hoping something will stick in just a willy-nilly fashion, you're expending a lot of effort hoping to get lucky. You're better off being very, very focused. So spend the time figuring out where you can be most effective, and also look at where do you want to be working? What will really, turn on your life, right? Put those two things together along with your skills, and now you've got a powerful combination for finding the job you want in civilian life, okay? Now, the thing is, even if you know what you're looking for, learning the market can take 6 to 8 months, right? So if you need lead time here if you're going to learn how to do this by trial and error. That's the thing. If not, you need to have a standard operating procedure for getting this market intel, finding that intersection point between what the market's demanding, what you're passionate about, and the skills and leadership ability that you have. For finding the meeting point of those three things, you either need time or you need a very methodical, quick method for doing that. An SOP. That's why I call it an SOP. All right. So you're going to have to focus your search. Otherwise, you're just wasting a lot of time, right? Now think about it. One of the big issues in the military is collateral damage, right? We took heat anytime, missiles hit the wrong target, or, our fire hit, God forbid, civilians, right? We always took heat, right? Because it's collateral damage. Really, what are they saying? We weren't focused on the proper target. It's the same thing in civilian life. You can't take a machine gun and just start spraying your resume bullets all over the place. It means nothing. You need to focus where you can add value. All right. Next, you need to find companies that you can help. So why do you want to spend time chasing jobs at companies that then it turns out you don't even want to work for? You don't like their culture. Your values don't match their values, right? I once knew, I had a friend in the real estate business before I joined the military. And she pursued very aggressively a job at one of the top real estate companies here in Los Angeles. And she landed the job. And then after, she complained to me because this particular company required its people to wear a suit and tie, not a coat and tie, a suit and tie. And by the way, a dark suit, dark blue, dark gray, black, every day. And if you showed up at the office and you didn't have a suit on, they literally sent you home. I mean, she was just so unhappy, right? She should have never even bothered pursuing a job at that company. And likewise, there's all kinds of things like that out there. So you need to check out the culture and the values of the companies to know, is this a place that I'm going to be happy working there? Because if not, move on. There's lots of other fish in the sea, okay? So understand and assess companies and their cultures, okay? Decide what companies do you really want to work for? Which ones really, when you think about it, you go, gosh, I'd really love to work there, okay? Look for those companies, because that without even having to say, I really want to work here. Just the enthusiasm with which you talk to people at that company will come through. They'll feel it. And that's enough to show them that you're a cut above the other candidates. Okay? So, the other thing is, you're going to need to take some time to find the jobs that aren't advertised. So, reality is, 4 times as many jobs are filled through personal contact as through outside sources like advertisements on job boards and such. So you're going to have to spend time getting in touch with people at your target companies and connecting with them in a way that you can get that inside information. Okay? So why do you want to be doing that at companies where in the end you don't really want to be working, right? Why waste that time? Okay? So that's why you want to be targeted in your search. You want to be focused in your search. Okay? So that way you can find the jobs that aren't advertised at the companies you want to work for. All right. Next, meet with the decision maker. So you have to find the person who chooses who will fill the job that you want. Here's, again, another reality check. Human resources isn't there to help you find a job. Okay? So the average advertised job gets about 200 people applying for it. And I'm sure you can appreciate they are not going to interview 200 people. In fact, on average, they interview 4 or 5 people. In other words, about 2.5% of applicants will actually get interviewed. And by the way, oftentimes several of those are having their resumes pulled because someone in the company said to the decision maker, hey, I talked to such and such, and, I really think you ought to talk to him. Okay? In other words, it wasn't just a cold resume submitted through a job board. Okay? So you need to know who the decision maker, the what's called the hiring manager. You need to know who that person is and deal with that person, if at all possible. Okay? That's the goal. Because the more you have to deal with human resources, the more likely it is you're going to get screened out. Because that's what their job is. Their job is to go from the whole world of a couple hundred applicants down to the 4 or 5 that they actually then hand off to the hiring manager. You got to get through that funnel. And you're not going to do it, for the most part, working through human resources. Okay, next. Once you have a meeting with the decision maker, you need to have an agenda for that meeting. You can't go in there cold. That's not what a professional does. And you can't be sure that the person you're meeting with is going to ask the right questions that are going to allow you to demonstrate the kind of value that you can bring to the table. So you've got to come prepared with questions and answers that are going to allow you to get your agenda met. Which is, look, here's what I can offer. Now, by the way, why should I be bringing my value to your company? Obviously, you're not going to say it that boldly, but that's essentially, look, you and the hiring manager, it's a meeting between 2 professionals. You're not having an interview. In fact, if you look at the word interview, in some dictionaries, it even has the word beg or beggar in it. You're not a beggar. Why do you want to start in that position? Oh, I just want an interview. Forget it. You want a meeting with someone who can actually give you the job. And you want to stand on essentially equal ground with that person. Okay? Finally, and this is what I alluded to a minute ago, you're going to prove your value through the questions that you ask. So you need to go into that meeting with certain prepared strategic or tactical questions that shows the person, hey, I understand this industry and I understand the challenges facing your company. And I'm prepared to help you deal with those challenges successfully. Right? Think how powerful that is and how much farther along that's going to take you than just, shotgunning resumes all over the place. Okay. So that's shift number 3. Now, again, let me give you an idea of how the system works. So, buddy of mine just recently retired from the Navy, and now this I'm giving you a little bit different twist. So he wasn't looking to go to work for another company. Okay, he had a little side business while he was in the Navy. He's what's called a farrier. That's a person who takes care of horses' hooves. They used to only shoe horses, but it's really become a more complex business now. Okay, but I mean, look, the business has been around for as long as people have been riding horses. So what was the value he was going to bring to the table, right? How is he going to demonstrate his value so that he gets the job that he wants? Okay, or in his case, what he's looking for is lots of small jobs by having clients. Okay, but it's still the same value proposition. His wealth will come from the value he delivers. It's just instead of having one client, the one company he works for, he has dozens of clients that he services on a regular basis. Okay? So, what was his unique value? How did he market himself to show his value? Well, first and foremost, the farrier business is heavily populated with people who are just not very professional. And coming out of the Navy with that military professionalism, right? He developed a very, very professional way of taking care of his clients. He added in steps of accountability and ways for them to see the kind of work that he was doing with their horses in a very vivid way so they could see the kind of progress, especially for a horse whose hooves are damaged, right? He set up a whole plan on how they could see the progress in the recovery of the horse. He had special shirts made up. So when he showed up in a clean polo style shirt, clean pants. He had a uniform basically. Almost no farrier does this. So he presented a professional, highly competent, expert image. And his business has grown and grown and grown. And he's able to move right out of the military. He retired right from retirement date. He immediately stepped into a business that'll support him, that'll replace the part of his military income that he lost because, retirement pay is not as high as active duty pay. Again, by marketing himself as the expert. That's how the system works. All right. So, shift number 4, you need to invest in mentoring. Here's the thing. When you join the military, it took 6.5 to 12 weeks to turn you into a soldier, sailor, airman, or Marine, right? And that was just to get you through basic, right? To take you from civilian to, warrior, as civilians call us. That's how long it took. So how is it that a week or 40 hours of, FSL, SFL TAP or transition GSP, all the different names they have, how is that going to be enough to civilianize you? There's just no way. It's not enough. Especially since the information they give you is at best, not very good, and at worst is actually counterproductive because they're teaching you the wrong way to do things in some cases. Okay? So, you need to have crystal clarity about your road ahead, and the tools to execute that plan. Now, by sitting through this webinar, you're taking that first step, and that's good, okay? But you're going to need to go farther than what I can just cover, in the hour that we're working together here. Okay, so look, here's the military career path. Whether it's enlisted or officer, right? The first few advancements or promotions are pretty much automatic. For an enlisted person, from E4 to E6, it's pretty much skills-based, and E7 to E9 is leadership-based. From O4 to O6, it's leadership command-based, and then from flag officer, general officer, it's pretty much strategic-based. Now, the thing is, clarity is built into the system, okay? So your expertise is established as part of how things work. You knew the schools you had to take. You knew the milestone billets you had to have. It's all worked out in advance. There's no guessing. It's all mapped out for you. And on top of that, about every year, the decision makers review your record to see if you're eligible to advance. It couldn't be easier or clearer in that sense. Now compare that with the civilian career path. This snake here is what a typical civilian goes through. So they get in entry level, they get into some kind of, business or field, whatever they're doing. Maybe they get a promotion and they say, I don't like this. So they make a lateral move. Oh, I don't like that. They make another lateral move. Still don't like what I'm doing. So they change industries, which usually means a step back. And now they get promoted. Okay, now they're finally on a path where they can progress. But it's all sort of back and forth, and there's no milestone jobs that they have to have in order to get from point A to point D. It doesn't work that way in civilian life. Now, you're entering civilian life. Do you want to go back to that entry level job and work your way through this snake? Or do you want to start at that first promotion point at the bottom of the slide there and go from there, at least from there, if not starting in the supervisor or even manager position? Okay, your military experience and your leadership ability gives you the raw skills to start at those points, okay, if you know how to take advantage of them. So that's where mentorship comes in. So good mentorship can reduce your job searching time to 2 to 3 months, okay? So it'll help you find the 80% of jobs that aren't advertised. You'll get in with a group of people who are working toward a common goal, and you'll have experienced mentorship that can show you the ropes, so you're not having to learn things through trial and error, okay? So studies show that with these 3 things, job search time is cut from 9 to 12 months to 2 to 3 months. That's how dramatic it is when you focus on mentoring and what mentoring can do to advance your job search. So you need to get mentoring, okay? So, like a good drill sergeant, a good mentor will make sure your effort is focused, leads to success, so you don't eventually wash out because you couldn't adjust to the way things work in civilian life, okay? Now, a great mentor will put together a powerful team, all working toward a similar goal, and they'll make your path to a 6-figure civilian job as clear as the military job path. And in the end, that's really what you want. You don't want to be wasting your time going, through all those side roads that lead to nowhere, or at least not lead to places that you don't want to go to. Okay? So that's where mentoring will really make the difference. All right. So that was shift number 4. So today I promise to show you how to turn your training and leadership ability into a 6-figure career right when you get out of the military with confidence and certainty, okay? And why you don't need more certifications, but you have the experience right now that'll put you in demand for the great jobs that are out there. As well, why you already have the connections to get the job you want. Again, you're in the military. You can reach out to other people in the military who are already in civilian life, and they're going to want to help you, okay? And how you can have your dream career without having to work 60, 80 hours a week, being on deployment, all those kind of things we did in the military. And how to do all of this without having to struggle, okay? In short, how to make the transition in less time with greater certainty than you ever thought possible. That's what making these 4 shifts will do for you. Okay, so let's review for a moment. This is what you need to do to find a secure, high-paying job straight out of the military. 1, internalize that you have the competitive advantage, okay? But you're going to have to take advantage of you having the competitive advantage. 2, resolve that your wealth will come from the value that you deliver, okay? And you're going to have to shape up your unique value proposition so that people can see and understand what you bring from the military that will benefit their organization. 3, you need to market yourself as the expert, okay? Because that's what businesses, nonprofits, whoever you want to go to work for, that's what they're looking for. They need someone with the expertise to solve, to overcome the challenges that they face so they can do what they do better and meet their mission. And finally, you need to invest in mentoring so that you can avoid going down, back alleys and side streets that lead you to nowhere and will keep you focused on getting where you want to go. Okay? So, if you effectively use these 4 steps, they'll reduce your job search time by as much as 75%, and they'll deliver you the kind of secure job that you want, right? While having the kind of close family life that you couldn't have because of deployments and all the demands of military life. Okay, so look, there's 3 paths to security. One is you can stay in the military, okay? And the military is a great life. There's no doubt about it, okay? 2, you can be content to live off whatever income you can generate by being lucky. Look, you can be secure if you'll just, give up aspirations, give up, wanting to have vacations or whatever that life is that you may be picturing, and say, look, I'm going to be content with whatever I get. And then you'll be perfectly secure. Look, monks who make vows of poverty, they're perfectly secure. They don't have expectations, they don't have aspirations. They're grateful for what they get, and they're perfectly secure. Okay? Or you can learn how to navigate the civilian job market effectively and quickly so that you never have to worry about getting a secure, good paying job. Right now. So if staying in the military isn't an option for you, either you're retiring, you're separating, you've been higher tenured out, or something like that, okay? And if you're not content to just take whatever you can find by getting lucky or whatever, okay? Then you're going to have to find some other way. And that way is you're going to have to figure out how civilian life works. Okay? And there's 2 ways to do that. One is you can do it through trial and error. Okay? And just bump along until you finally figure it out. The other is you can get trained in an efficient, controllable system for finding the job you want. Okay? So let's look at this trial and error versus learning a system options here. Okay? So let's look at how much you're giving up, okay, by going the trial and error route. So think for just a moment. What is the salary that you want to make in civilian life? Is it $50,000? Is it $100,000? Is it something in between? Okay, let's just take $70,000 a year as kind of a mid-range salary for where you might be. Okay, so $70,000 a year works out to about $5,800 a month, okay? Slightly under $6,000 a month. Now, by the way, if it were, if $50,000 is your number, you're talking about, roughly $4,000 a month, okay? Now, the difference between using a system and trial and error is going to be system, 2 to 3 months to find the job you want, trial and error, at least 9 months. There's going to be at least a 6-month gap there, maybe longer. But let's just look at that 6-month gap, okay? So 6 months at $5,800 a month, or half of $70,000, that's $35,000, okay? Income that you're losing out on by going the trial and error route. Now, again, if you're talking $50,000 a year, so then you're losing out on $25,000. But if you're able to command 6 figures in civilian life, you're giving up $50,000 to the college of I don't know. Right? Why do you want to do that? Right? That's vacations for your family, maybe a nicer place to live, or paying for college for your kids, whatever it is, whatever financial commitments you have or want to make, you're giving all that up by taking the trial and error route. So the much more financially sensible route is to get yourself trained. Okay? Don't lose out on that money. Okay, so Are you ready to do something about it? Let's get real here, as they say, for a minute. It's very unlikely you would have made it through the military had you not gone through boot camp and the additional training that you got. Okay? Think about it. Would you have gotten, if you've been in combat, would you have gotten through combat without the kind of training that the military gave you? Very unlikely. That's just it. Okay? You needed to have, and the military knows that. They know they have to train us in order for us to be successful. Okay? So, it's in that respect, it's no different in civilian life. Yes, the stakes aren't as high. You're probably not going to go into some civilian situation where if you're untrained, you could potentially be killed, God forbid. I'm not suggesting they're the same in that respect. But it's the same in the sense that if you don't get good training, the chances that you'll be successful drop significantly. Okay? So are you going to rely on luck or trial and error, or are you going to get trained? Okay? Is the last hour we spent together just going to be a source for tweaking your resume a little bit, or is it going to give you that fix like, okay, now I've done something now, so I can transition better. I feel good about myself now. Okay? Because if that's your plan, frankly, good luck. Good luck. Okay? As I said in the beginning, this isn't about tweaking your resume. This is about working a system, working it hard in order to get to your objectives. Okay? So, if you're not content to gamble with your family's future, and you're really committed to figuring out how civilian life works, really making these shifts so that you'll be successful, okay? If that's you, okay, then I have something for you. All right, here we go. So, the Civilian Success SOP. This is my 4-shift system to get a secure income right out of the military. So I will train you in the skills you need to have to take your military skills and ability and your leadership mindset and use it to make yourself the expert in civilian life so you can gain wealth by delivering value. That's what my training does. Okay? Now, it's an 8-week workshop, and it'll turn you into an expert self-marketer, whether you want a job for $50,000 a year, $100,000 a year, or even more. Okay? That'll all depend on how effectively, right, we can shape up your skills and leadership in a way that the market will demand. Okay? So you'll get the skills to do this along with the confidence and focus to use your competitive advantage. Those are just as important as your skills. Okay? And then we'll drill it into you so that it's second nature for you to establish your target and achieve that job objective. Okay? So let me show you what's covered in the 8 weeks of training modules. So in week 1, you develop a strategic plan for your life. So you're absolutely clear on what it is you want to achieve so you can be secure in civilian life. And we're going to overhaul your mindset so you're prepared to deal with the challenges of civilian life. Okay? Then in week 2, we're going to discover your unique and highest value. We're going to look at your skills, we're going to look at your passion, and we're going to look at what the market is demanding and find that intersection point where you can deliver the greatest value, which of course, as we talked about before, gives you the ability to generate the most wealth. Okay? Week 3, we're going to show you how to quickly and thoroughly assess industries and figure out which one has the most potential for you and which companies in it you want to work for, so you're not wasting your time pursuing jobs at companies that it turns out aren't a good fit for you. Week 4, we're going to show you how to get meetings to discuss jobs. You're not going to go on interviews. You are going to sit down, professional to professional, or maybe over the phone, metaphorically sit down, professional to professional, and talk about mutual benefit of working together. Along with that, show you how to find the 80% of jobs that aren't advertised, which is the key to really finding a job that you will love. Okay? Next, week 5, how to conduct those meetings, how to prepare, what to say, how to say it, the questions you need to ask, and the ones you need to answer, how you should answer them so that you can be effective in those meetings and meeting your objective. Okay, week 6, we're going to talk about marketing materials, okay? How to present yourself online and on paper, okay? The reality is your online presence is as or more important than your paper resume, because potential employers are going to be checking you out online, okay? So you've got to know how to shape up, for example, your LinkedIn profile so it absolutely markets you effectively, and we'll train you how to do that. Okay? Week 7 is going to be about negotiating terms of employment. There's a whole strategy to this, and believe me, a lot of employers are going to try and get you to give up the game long before you should even be talking dollars and cents. So we're going to start out with talking about the strategy behind when you should begin negotiating terms, as well as how to maximize your position. Okay, and then finally, in week 8, we're going to talk about ongoing marketing and career building. So we're going to help you create a plan that will raise your profile in the industry. So as you move forward in your civilian career, you're always be able showing the kind of value that you can bring to the table. You're developing new contacts so that you don't have to worry about, hey, if things aren't working out here, or the company you're working for shifts its strategy, or they sell a division you don't like the new owners, all the things that happen in civilian life. It's not going to matter because you're consistently marketing yourself into your industry, so you always have other opportunities. Okay, so there are 3 different plans you can use to get this training. Okay, so the most basic one is called the standard plan. So you get the full 8 weeks of training material, and you get lifetime 24-hour day, 7-day a week access to the online training portal. So you can always go back and review the material whenever you want to. And of course, as you might imagine, material gets updated periodically. So there's new things that you need to know about. So you'll always have access to that. In addition, you'll get my email swipe file. So you'll have all the verbiage of the emails that you need to send. You'll get phone scripts, and you'll get tracking forms so you can keep track of your job search and the steps that you need to be taking in order to meet your objective. Okay, that's the standard plan. Now, the pro plan in the middle there, it gives you everything the standard plan does, plus you get access to my exclusive Facebook support group. This is a group just for people in the pro plan and master's plan, where everybody works together to help each other meet their objective, typically finding a high-paying job. In some cases, people are starting businesses, okay? Now, I'm also involved in the group, so you're able to ask questions, ask for input, okay? That's the place that you can go to get more on-hands guidance. And then in addition to that, you get one 30-minute coaching call with me, one-on-one, okay? So, and you can do that anytime during the 8 weeks that you're in the training. If you want to do it at the beginning to sort of help you map things out, or in the middle when you've got a lot of questions, or even at the end to sort of help you transition on your way. However you want to do that, it's up to you, but you've got that available for you whenever you want to do it, okay? That's the pro plan. And then the master's plan. So again, it has everything that's in the pro plan now, but in addition to the one coaching call, you get 2 more. So you get a total of 3 30-minute coaching calls, okay? So what I always recommend is you do one at the beginning, one in the middle, one at the end. And that way you're really keeping on track with these one-on-one calls with me. And then in addition to those, you get 8 weekly live training calls for anyone in the master's plan program, where we really dive even more deeply into the material than what you see in the training portal, and answer any questions you have about how to apply the material to your specific circumstances. And then in addition to those live training calls, we do 8 weekly Q&A and drill calls, so that as you're working with the material for that week, you have a second opportunity to ask questions, as well as working together with your fellow students, drilling certain aspects of what you're going to do, like interview questions, that sort of thing, really drilling those in. So again, it becomes second nature for you to use them. Okay, so those are the 3 options that are available to you if you want to join the training. Okay, so you're probably thinking to yourself, sounds great, but you're not doing this for free. You're right. I'm not doing it for free, right? So the value of the course is what I empower you to do. So it's no different for me than it is for you when I told you wealth comes from value delivered. So the value of what I enable you to do is the value of my course, okay? So at $5,800, I'm sorry, $5,833 per month. Remember, that was the figure we were using before, based on a $70,000 a year salary. We said 6 months was $35,000 a year. That's the gap of doing it trial and error versus doing it through a system like the one I teach, okay? And so you'll make an extra $35,000 on your first job, okay? Over the next 20 years, you're likely to have to find 4 or 5 jobs. So as things change, right, you need to be able to keep up. Otherwise, you're going to constantly be in the trial and error mode. So over your career, it could be an additional income, earnings of at least $150,000. So by getting this training and getting up to speed quickly, that's the amount of value it can potentially add to your life. Okay? So I could price it based just on what you'd earn it in an additional month, $5,833. Okay? But I'm not going to do that. Okay? I could also look at it from the standpoint, okay, just for the first job that you get, you're going to earn an additional $3,500. Typical finder's fee is 10%. Great. So that would be $3,500, okay, for the training. But look, I know how it is to be a veteran. Okay, I'm one myself, right? You may not have a whole lot of spare cash lying around. So I want to do something that's more affordable than these kind of numbers. Okay, so here's how it actually works. If you want to take the standard plan training, okay, the cost is $978. Okay, that's less than a week's salary for any kind of reasonable job that's out there. Okay, if you want to go with the pro plan, where you get more active support, including a direct coaching call with me, that's $1,458. That's 1 week of salary for a $70,000 a year job. Okay, and if you want to go with the master's plan, with the live training calls and the multiple coaching calls with me one-on-one, the cost of that is $2,916, which is 2 weeks at a $70,000 a year salary. And then to make it easier, I've got payment plans so you can divide the cost up over 3 months. Okay, so you can do it for three payments of $326 a month for the standard plan, $486 a month for 3 months for the pro plan, and $972 a month for 3 months for the master's plan. So that way it can make it easier for you to budget, and that's perfectly fine. Okay, so here's the deal. I also have a couple of bonuses for you if you join the training. Okay, so for those of you who are considering the standard or the pro training, okay, during the 8 weeks of the training, you may feel like, gosh, I need more support with this. I'm not meeting my objectives. So during the 8 weeks, if you want to upgrade to the higher level, you can do so at just the prorated cost of the time you have left in the training. Okay, so if you're 4 weeks through the training and you want to upgrade to the next higher level, you'll only pay for the 4 weeks of the higher level, not, the full 8 weeks of the higher level. Okay, hopefully it makes sense the way I'm explaining that. Okay, so it makes it potentially more affordable for you if you're not sure, where you want to start out, or how much support that you need. Okay, and then for those of you, this is only for those of you who start out in the master's training. So if you start out in a lower category and then advance up to the master's training, this is not available for you. But for those of you who start out in the master's training, so in addition to the 8 weekly trainings and the 8 Q&A and role play sessions, so I will give you 4 weeks of follow-on coaching so you can fine-tune your communication and negotiation skills, your marketing skills, and also get support actually transitioning into your job. Okay, so again, that's available just to people who join the master's training first off. So that's a bonus that you get, an additional 4 weeks basically of coaching and training. Okay, so those are the bonuses that I offer for getting into the program now. All right, so here's the big question. If you learn what I can show you, if you're able to internalize the 4 shifts and really make them your own through the training that I give you, can you shorten your job search by 1 or 2 weeks? That's really what it comes down to. Because if you can, then it makes sense to join the training. And if you can't, it doesn't make sense to join the training and you shouldn't do it. Okay? So that's how I've tried to work it out for you so that it would be affordable and make sense if you think that you can shorten your job search by these kind of time parameters, a week or 2. All right. So, look, there's 3 kinds of people. First of all, there's the freeple, right? They want everything for free. They have an entitlement attitude, and they just think that, hey, the world owes them a living. And that's fine, but you know what? What I found is they're the same people who week after week are broke. They're hand to mouth, hand to mouth, hand to mouth. Okay? And it's sad, but that's just how life works. Okay? Then there's the sheeple. So they'll buy trainings, but they don't take action. Okay? They're always gathering more information. And they think that what really it's all about is, I just need to have the right information. If I have the right access to the right information, then everything will work out. But the bottom line is, you can have the greatest information in the world, but if you don't take action on it, you might as well not have the information. Okay? The person who doesn't read and the person who can't read are both the same. They're not, since neither one either can or will take action, their life isn't progressing. Okay? If you're in either one of these categories, do not sign up for my training. Please do not sign up for my training. I don't want people coming into the training who are not committed to their own success. Okay? It's too hard to work with people like that, to be honest. Okay? And it's too depressing, right? I want people in the training who are committed to their own success, who want to give a great life for themselves and their families, who really want to make a difference. Okay? Right? I want the professionals in this training. Okay, professionals will spend what it takes to learn from the best to be the best, because they know the biggest cost they have to bear is the skills that they don't have. And that's the biggest cost you have to bear. If you don't know how to market yourself in order to show potential employers your unique value in a compelling way so that you can gain wealth by taking advantage of your competitive advantage, you're not going to be successful. That's just the bottom line. Okay? And I want to work with people who see that this is the path to success in civilian life. So if you're a professional, then you're the person that I want to work with. Okay, so here's what you do. Go to bemmel.com/training. Okay, you have 48 hours from now to sign up for the program. After that, enrollment closes and we're done. right? Because the reality too is people who are action takers take action. They don't need days and weeks and months to figure out what they should do. They know what they need to do. They know where the gaps are in their knowledge, skills, and they take action to fill them. I'm looking for action takers. So if you're an action taker, go to bemmel.com/training. You've got 48 hours to do that. Okay, and here, let me show you what the page looks like. Here it is. Excuse me. All right, so this is the page. There's my wise old owl there, Civilian Success SOP. There's a brief summary of the 8 weeks of the training, okay? And just scroll down a little bit, and you see the different plans there, the standard plan, the pro plan, and the master's plan. Just click on the button that has the payment plan that works for you. It'll take you right through to a secure server where you can enter your credit card, and you will immediately get started in the program. You'll get your login credentials right away. That'll take, and you'll go to the training portal, and you can get started right away on making your transition, okay? So again, you've got 48 hours from now to go to bemmel.com/training, okay? bemmel.com/training to sign up. Whichever plan works for you, that's great. Now, you may not be sure which plan is right for you. Okay, you know you want to take the training, but you're not sure. Gosh, should I take the standard or the pro or the masters? I'm really not sure. I just don't know. Okay, so if you're in that dilemma, you want to take the training, but you're not sure which plan. So I will schedule a 15-minute decision-making call with you. So send me an email to decide@bemmel.com. Okay? Decide@bemmel.com right there on the screen, and I will email you back a link to my calendar, and you can schedule a time that works for your schedule when we can talk for 15 minutes. And we can go over the specifics of your situation, and I'll help you figure out which will be the best program for you. Okay? So, look, if you're a super self-starter, maybe you're thinking, but maybe I want some support, I don't know. So let's talk for 15 minutes, and we'll figure it out. You may not need any support. You may just need the information. That's really all you've been lacking. And so then, but you'll take the steps, and you'll take action on your own. You're an action taker. Great, that may be all you need. You may need some support, though, so in which case, we'll look at that option. But we'll talk about that on the call, and I'll be happy to help you figure out which one is best for you. Because in the end, that's what we want. We want the training that's going to help you be successful. That's what this is all about. Okay, like I said earlier, if you're not an action taker, I don't take the training, because it's not going to help you. It's not going to help you to pay me money and you not be successful. There's no upside for that for you or for me. Okay, so this is really for people who want to get into the system of how to be successful in civilian life. That's what it takes. Okay, so again, go to bemmel.com/training. You got 48 hours, and sign up for the program, whichever plan you're interested in. And I would love to be able to work with you. I do this purely in order to help veterans have the kind of success that I have and had before I joined the military in civilian life. There's so much that civilian life can give you, probably more than the wildest dreams you've been dreaming about, if you have the ability to take advantage of it. And that's really the key. However your military career worked out for you, and I know for some people, military just didn't work out for them, and it's a shame, but it happens. For other people, the military was great, but they get sort of stuck in this mode of, gosh, the greatest things I ever did, I did in the military. It doesn't have to be that way. You can do even greater things in civilian life than you ever did in the military if you figure out the SOP for making civilian life work for you. You got to crack the code, as they say. And that's the important thing. The sooner you learn it, the better your civilian life will be for yourself. Okay, so that's what I'm encouraging you to do. Okay, so again, one last time, go to bemel.com/training. You got 48 hours. Or again, if you're really not sure, go to decide, send me an email at decide@bemel.com. I'll send you the link to my calendar. We'll schedule a short time to speak. Either way, whatever you decide to do, first of all, thank you very much for coming to my webinar. I really appreciate it. I hope you got a lot out of it. There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in here, making this information as good as I possibly could to help you as much as I possibly can, because your success means a tremendous amount to me. And so please take this information, take action on it however you plan to do that, and have a great, a fantastic, an amazing civilian life. And hopefully someday out there, we'll meet up face to face, and we'll go, hey Rabs, hey Kevin, I saw your webinar, thanks so much. I really appreciated the boost that you gave me. So good luck, and hopefully I'll see you in the training. All the best.